Everyone, Temporal here, and for this session we are going to be reviewing the Maryville University versus Drifters OD game, specifically the Route 66 map that happened between them. For those of you that aren't aware, Maryville Uni is probably top 3 collegiate team made up of a bunch of contenders players, and Drifters is a contenders team. They're meeting here in Open Division. We're going to take a look at the map. I know some of you are meta curious, etc., all that good stuff. So we'll get to see what they're playing, and we will also get to do some of our usual review stuff, see how they should take fights, criticize, etc. Hey, Francisco. Okay, so here we go.
Powerful. Balls just does a great
Oh,
job
let's
at
turn our
disrupting the
volume
back line
down here
and
because we
allowing
don't
the defense
care
to be able
what
to
they have to say very much. We just want a little bit of sound effects. We're probably not going to get that. We're just going to have to mute. Okay. So here we are, and it's important to see what they're coming out on. So far it looks like Maryville is showing a brawl comp, and this is a pretty standard brawl comp in terms of, hey, we are running ourselves a, what am I saying? We are running ourselves a Reinhardt, Lucio, and Bap. Obviously, sometimes you'll see Moira in Brawl, but really Brawl's evolved to mostly be using Bap these days. The greater flexibility, he still deals out pretty darn good healing while having much more meaningful poke than Moira, bringing probably a more powerful ultimate in that window, and of course having Lamp, which is a huge deal. The McCree, pretty standard. You do see some variety in the DPS slots. You sometimes see McCree May. I'd say that's the most common breakout. Sometimes you see this McCree Reaper. Sometimes you see May Reaper. Sometimes you see a Doomfist mixed in here. You've seen the Sim Junk version that comes out frequently on Control Center. But this is a pretty standard brawl right here. And then the last thing we'd talk about would be the soft tank slot, where you see Zarya. People like playing Zarya. Zarya's traditionally been the brawl partner of Reinhardt, etc. You saw an evolution to Diva. We might see people move back to that because you can definitely outplay the Zarya here. Zarya does not have the ability to deny opposing angles as hard as, say, a Diva does. You can also rob a Zarya of energy, really cheat her in this kind of composition. Remember, the modern brawl is not GOAT, so it is possible to outplay the Zarya, deny them the energy, etc., and you don't need the damage from the Zarya that GOATs did, etc. So you're seeing Zarya here. Maybe we'll see Diva later, etc. Sometimes you'll even see Orisa in that slot. That that can get wild, but I remember early days back right when we shifted to 222, we quite enjoyed back on phase one and things, throwing some Orisa Ryan together and watching teams panic, etc. But yes, Orisa's barrier isn't as strong now. Anyway, this is what we have here, and then we'll see in a moment what we have coming out of our drifters. Okay, so that looks mostly like a hybrid comp with Roadhog. I've seen teams try that before. It's really trying to figure out what to throw into this hybrid slot where it's again, it used to be Sigma or hybrid. I'm just going to call it Poke Dive because it's a Poke Dive comp. We used to run Sigma in that comp. Sigma was tuned very strongly. That wasn't terribly surprising. I've seen more teams go with Diva in this slot since the Sigma nerf. Some try to force Sigma, and occasionally you do see Hog, because Hog, in theory, fulfills the same niche as Sigma in terms of at least they have self-sustain through their take a breather, things like that. At least they're kind of a poke tank, etc., have a little more ranged presence, we'll say, than Diva to a degree. But, offers significantly less peel, and honestly, if they're really taking that damage, it can be really pretty rough even if they're breathering themselves. So I have seen more Diva here, but this is fine. And then this rollout on double poke for their poke dive, I guess making it really more of a poke comp, even if they're using the dive base here that we've sort of seen in the hybrid comp. Maybe that's because they're predicting brawl out of Maryville here, or maybe that is a preference of the specific player. Maybe they're Tracer player feels more comfortable on the Ash and defaults to the Ash when they have that option, etc. Because I don't think there's anything particularly good terrain-wise for this initial attack that makes the Ash better than the Tracer, which is sometimes the excuse to see that there. But let's see what happens here. Okay, so we're doing our little train car hold here. It's a fair amount that we've taken. In terms of how this should go, they got discovered pretty early. They probably aren't going to get a target to punish. So this is just probably they slowly go down Maryville here. And Odd did swap over to the Diva, which again is more normal for what I've seen here. I'm surprised the Diva actually was giving them so much too. Oh, will it not let me do my 5-second rewind? I'm surprised the Diva was giving them. Hey, Norvex. I'm surprised that the Diva here is giving them a target to shoot at, to be honest. Like, you look at this and you go, okay, we've got this. This is fine. Echo's doing what she can here with the Mercy boost. Ball's being distracting without taking too much fire. He's taking shots from the McCree, which is exactly who he wants to be taking shots from because that gives the Echo the most freedom to do work. So this all makes sense. That's normal. This is a little weird to me. Like, we're sending out micro, but we're sending out micro during our defense matrix. Okay, if we're willing to spend the defense matrix, we can poke into here. We just don't want to really give them much shot to farm our diva. We don't want this comp to get going with its ults. We let Diva get about halfway chunked there. That's more than I'd have expected. And we didn't do our ball roll through while the Matrix was up. So that's a bit of a coordination issue, in my opinion. We should have done our ball roll through and our micro missiles while we had that Diva Matrix up to protect our ball better for that. That's what I would have liked to see, but and then it knocks out and we get to do our big hit, etc. But at least they did get a nice roll through on, didn't get punished in any way for that, really. And now they hit some nice TNT. So they got out Lamp, but they lost Ball. Mm-hmm. Zarya's got energy, but you're not going to deny Zarya energy in this matchup. Okay, so we've eventually taken it apart. It looks like, oh, can we please get some better frame quality, please? We're gonna need better. Thank you. Um, They were able to do that, but Echo was able to clean things up. That was always going to happen when they left. As soon as they left the cart like this, as soon as they left the train car like this, they got knocked out. As soon as they choose to leave though and go push, etc., they really had to clean things up immediately. Because if you don't clean things up immediately, it's just going to be the case that hey, the Echo is going to farm you, the Ashe is going to find something to do, etc. And they did pick up eliminations. Like, don't get me wrong, they got rid of Ball, they got rid of Ashe, etc. Like, they picked up eliminations, but when Brawl leaves its cover in this matchup, which was the train car, they need to run things over quickly and immediately, and it just wasn't fast enough. So they've lost too many people here. Okay. Um, okay, I expect we're going to see Drifters take some more space because they need to have maximum ability to punish Maryville as they're rotating in on this comp. That's correct, Norvex. This was a casted game, and I don't want to have to fight with the casters for air, and the casters set the game volume pretty low themselves, so they were talking over the game. And so if I give you any of their volume, you're just going to hear me talking over talking people. You're not going to hear sound effects. You follow what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to give you full volume because you wouldn't be able to hear me. And if I give you less volume, I can do it for a bit and you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm not going to do it. There we go. I agree. It's less interesting without sound, but I don't have a source version of it. I don't have the game kit. Okay, so they're up here doing their poke, and let's, before this fight really breaks out, take a... Oh, actually, we might have had a better shot there to see how they set up. Did Echo give us a better shot to see how they were set up? Um, Ashe, really? Ashe took Earls? That's a little surprising to me. Okay, she's rotating now. I'd have liked to see something a little more over here. I know the concern of, oh, hey, they could just come up here, etc., but I would have liked to see something over here or something back by cave to give a bigger angle difference between our Echo, who's going to end up playing in this direction, and our Ashe, who is now playing from here, but I'd prefer to be angling more like this, and as the cart advances with our Zen, deepen her angle like this so that she goes this angle where Zen can go this angle. That's what I would have preferred, expected, etc. I like the ball here. The ball will probably roll out this way and angle in, and that'll give them a pretty good surround, and it'll let them chip down the Brawl pretty darn hard as the Brawl is trying to rotate. And the Brawl has a couple options for where it can rotate. It can either try to rotate into gas, or it can try to rotate up the back here a bit so that it can drop and speed onto a target, etc. Those are really what its options are. Because when you're playing Brawl into something that's poke heavy, and this is very poke heavy, they've adjusted their hybrid, their poke dive to be more poke heavy. You know, they've got the Ash, they've got the Echo, they have the Mercy. This is and you know, Zen's always poke heavy. This is a very poke heavy comp, and that's good. That's exactly how you'd fight Brawl here. But what Brawl does to minimize the value of that is rotate from cover, like in a cave, get through here as quick as they can, back into cover where they have limited protection, and then walk through the cover to get as close as they can to the cart, and then go out to the cart and maybe touch it, etc., etc. Let the cart advance to right outside the gas station and stop it from in the gas station, etc. Or find something that makes a mistake, like the Diva who doesn't have boosters, or the Zen, and then speed rush, you know, use speed boost, rush onto them, crush them, etc. That's what we'd usually expect them to try to do. In terms of our ults, um, later, Francisco. Okay, in terms of ults coming online here, did we get anything interesting? We got the window, we got the duplicate. Uh, it's probably not huge. Windows got some value, don't get me wrong. Windows got some value playing into this, but not as much value as I would say it has playing into another Brawl team. You know, it becomes a direction thing. The the hybrid team drifters are going to get a good surround on Maryville, and the window can only really window in a direction that threatens one or two of them. It won't threaten all of them. So it can zone some people, but they're still going to get pelted from the other direction, etc. And beyond that, we've got duplicate. Duplicate is probably enough for them to take the committal early on these guys, as long as they do it before really beat or grav comes up, etc. But that shouldn't be a problem. So they'll want to soften them up some, but they'll want to find the timing of we've softened you up some. Maybe we don't get an elimination, but we soften you up, and we use our duplicate before we have the real fear of running into a grav or a beat, etc. Because those would be very bad if we committed before you committed and then they were able to save themselves with a grab, a shatter, a beat, etc. Because we don't expect the fight to last that long. So you really got to understand when you're doing this wear out the Brawl team, okay, how much resources do they have? How much have we made them spend? Have we made them spend bubbles? Have we made them spend flash? Have we made them spend wraith? Do they have amp? You know, where are they on lamp? You're really looking at all these cooldowns and going, do we have enough of a cooldown slash health lead to commit, even though they're close, even though they're more powerful? And by commit, I mean put ourselves in a place where we can get hurt too. Obviously, we will be taking angles, poking them if we're drifters the whole time, but there is a moment where we sort of go in a little harder. Our ball could go in, our echo could go in, duplicate, our diva could go in, etc. Okay. Okay, back to our play here. Going for our poke, that's fine. Soften them up, that's what we're looking to do. Okay, so this is fine. I don't love this. I actually would have preferred that we'd maintained the ability to keep our angle over here. I don't hate this, but I don't love this because I think our Ash is right behind us. So we basically don't have any sort of surround on these guys. And they rotated that way, which is fine. And this is a separated McCree. I hope our ball can come back and help us. I hope Jakaru can come back and help Nos, and they can get a nice little pick off on this McCree that got separated. Because Echo doesn't necessarily, or Reaper that got separated, excuse me. Well, you actually don't need help if it's the Reaper. So using Diva to push the cart, that's unfortunate. So Jikaru looks like committed too hard in there, got stuck. Again, you want baby little disruptions, but it's a little dangerous. These guys don't have great tools to stop the Jikaru as he comes through here. Like they just have the flash. They don't have a Briggs Bash or a May Freeze to go with it, but they do have that Reaper damage too. So you get more done during the flash than a team normally would, etc. And this was a tough place. They were still in a, like, even though we hit that and it looks like, hey, maybe that separated the Reaper, that was a place where the team other than Nos couldn't really support him. So I don't love that choice of an area to disrupt them, because that was behind the sign, which is really isolated from his team, which means he doesn't get team support in terms of, hey, heals being thrown at him. Now, obviously, he still has the Harmony Orb for the roll through, which is the main source. So, okay, maybe he does have that. But during that moment of disrupting people, Ash doesn't really have a sightline, Zen doesn't really have a sightline, Diva doesn't have a sightline. We want to time our disruptions, in places where Maryville, the Brawl team is rotating through open spots, like, say, this would be an open spot where they're very vulnerable, and we want to time it in places where they're the same places. Our team can follow up, actually do work, etc. Because we are risking our ball's life every time he goes through disruption. Hopefully, we're not making a very big risk of our ball's life, but we are risking it. So we don't want to do it behind a sign where, hey, the only one who can see is an extreme angle like our Echo. We want to do it when they're more in the open there, like up above the sign once they're already up there, etc. We were a bit early, but hey. Oh, hey Hirsch. What about Lucio Boops to deny ball from coming in? You can, I mean, you can, but it's sort of you're generally happier to stop the ball, right? Like when you're this big brawl like this, you're generally happier to stun the ball, chip it out. You kind of want the ball to come in at the wrong time and punish it. So like you could try to go, hey, if the ball hasn't going yet, I'm gonna Blucio boop it to stop it, etc., to really disrupt it, mess with it, etc. Like that's a thing that you can do, but you only want to do that if the ball is coming in at the appropriate time when the team can follow up. If the ball is early, you're just going to go, hey, we're going to happily let this ball in because all, four or five of us will get to shoot at the ball while it's in here, while only one of its teammates, the Echo, gets to shoot at us. Like, that's a good trade. So, this was a poor engage, in my opinion, from Drifters here. Okay. Oh, I got distracted. Okay, let me go through back here. I know it's boring without sound, guys. Hopefully, I'm making enough noise. So our Echo hopefully is going to trade that Reaper back because that's going to be disappointing if they don't. Or oh, yikes! Definitely didn't happen. Okay. It's kind of becoming chaos. We don't have the best camera, and we're just going to burn that because we have it. I mean, the team fight can go okay at this point because Drifters did build up enough of a resource lead and their ball will be back fast. They do have the faster spawn. So I expect Drifters is going to win this out because they shouldn't be able to stabilize. And they basically got that off the back of, even though it was a bad ball engage, the Reaper did separate, was able to be pressured a bit, even if he didn't immediately go down, though did go down and came back as Tracer, it looks like, or is coming back as Tracer here. But more than that, hey, that BAP did go down pretty early, etc., which is now trying to come back as Moira. So, things did get a little separated by that, even if it wasn't the best engage. We did get some value out of the duplicate, even if it was just to sustain the fight. And Nos is cleaning up a fight. Oh, geez, 3 eliminations in this fight, too. I mean, they're clean up, but still. Okay, so now going into this next fight, we're going to have some meaningful ults here. We should have some meaningful ults. So Maryville has effectively destroyed their composition. I mean, it can still brawl okay. It has the Moira, but that's not really what you want for this. And then it's got the Tracer, who isn't going to get any healing from the Moira. Tracer's forced her way into brawl before, though, so that's not wild. I will be curious to see if Drifters, after this Bob, adjusts to a more normal poke dive comp and swaps that Ashe over to Tracer. They probably don't need to do that yet, but it looks to me like Maryville is looking to break out of this comp. Like that Tracer and Moira were swaps, probably because they were thinking we can get back faster, etc., not because they're better into this. Tracer is a little bit better into this, and her ability to herd the Ash around, etc., put pressure on the Zen. Like it does do those things better than the Reaper did. I just think the Reaper was a bad pick to start, to be perfectly honest. But the Tracer does make sense for that. And the Moira is okay if you're going, hey, we're playing into something divey. We want the Moira over the BAP. I can live with it, though BAP still is universally mostly better. So I guess we can't determine that that's oh, they're going to try to force this. That's going to be a feed. Like these guys are going to be late. Drifters are going to be here. Your brawl is coming out not in a group into this comp. It's just going to get crushed. This is just feeding a bunch of ult charge. I mean, I see your beat. I just don't care. We can answer it with a Valk, which is exactly what happens from Drifters. Okay. And now we should immediately jump. Oh, that McCree never should have gotten that off. Okay, well, that's going to turn things. So if you look at what's happening here, they beat because they have to. Like, but keep in mind how barely this worked out. Like, I want to be clear, that Reinhardt has about 30. Yeah, that Reinhardt has about 30 health, maybe 50 health, etc. So this beat barely got him. And if this beat doesn't save him, this is 100% a lost fight for Maryville here. So that's something that, okay, you guys got a little lucky, or maybe you edged it just perfectly. Maybe that was all skill. You knew exactly how much damage he was going to take. You didn't, because if Drifter's any better, he would have taken more, but that's okay. But what's still going to happen here is they're kind of late getting in and they have to spread out. Like, they are anchored to this point. Someone has to anchor to this point. This Reinhardt should not be the target. I really hope that we don't. I really hope that Drifters does not stay on Reinhardt as the target here just because he was low health, etc. Like, there's a sound barrier here. He's clearly, his job is to anchor this point. That's what Cameron knows he's going to do. Looks like Light is doubling up on anchoring it, which is a mistake. Light needs to go get value. Light needs to go try to find someone to herd, etc. But what the real issue is here is they're still trying. You see this, the ball, the echo, etc. And the diva are all still trying to force this Reinhardt. And remember, they made the swap. They have the Moira, so they're just puking heals into this Reinhardt under the sound barrier, so that by the time this sound barrier is over, this Reinhardt is going to have plenty of health. This is a mistake. We instead need to be going, hey, don't let them have any off angles. Remember, they're brawl. We have to keep them surrounded. We have to be punishing them, etc. We don't have a surround on them anymore if they're able to get their McCree up over here. This is a little scary because, hey, the McCree got here and still has a bunch of health from sound barrier, but this McCree should be under some amount of pressure as soon as he leaves, etc. Like, we aren't trying to force the point. We aren't trying to Drifters shouldn't be trying to force this point. This bob is a little silly, in fact, in my opinion. Like, the bob's okay for the angle, but we don't need the bob. We already have Diva threatening from this angle, and we don't need someone touching the point. They can't leave the point. Even if all of Drifters leaves the point, Maryville can't leave the point and will anchor it with either their Reinhardt or their Tracer, which I expect to be their Reinhardt. So this becomes a case of, we don't need to put Bob on this point. This angle isn't really much different than our Diva's angle. This should be a, hey, the Reinhardt is the point anchor. Why are we trying to destroy the point anchor through that sound barrier? It's just not going to happen as soon as any of his friends showed up. We need to swap to better targets. Zarya's a better target. McCree's a better target. And they're better targets because they're separated. They're at off angles. And anytime someone takes a big off angle like one of these, you need to pressure them to either eliminate them or make them run back to their team. That's why Zarya's check other Zaryas, for example, in Brawl Comps. You'll see Zarya's turn and shoot at Zaryas even if the Reinhardt is low to make the Zarya rejoin the Reinhardt, etc. Or at least to get the bubble, then swap to the Reinhardt, then swap back to the Zarya after the bubble's over. I know. So this is a mistake that Drifters is not forcing these guys on the flanks back in immediately, because again, you're giving them effectively value by focusing their guy who isn't going to leave the point no matter what. This Reinhardt is not dangerous to Drifters because he simply can't leave the point. And Drifters can leave the point. They don't care if it starts to roll back a tiny bit. Like, as soon as they win this fight, it's capped, and there's not going to be cute boops, etc., to go move the point. So this is a mistake, and that's ultimately, it looks like, what is going to lose them the fight. Uh, so the McCree goes down, which isn't terribly surprising because he's on that off angle there, but the damage is probably done in those two eliminations. The Valk may power through it just in lasting longer, but this is basically what they have to do. This is just a mess. Fine. Okay, so they got the job done, partially through them still having closer spawns, partially through them willing to pour the extra ult that they had into it, and that they did have self-destruct, and partially in that Valk outlasted Beat there, and much of the Beat's value was used to get them in rather than to actually fight with, etc. So that's not terribly surprising, but hey, Maryville got more done than they should have there. Okay, are we seeing swaps come in from Maryville now? We are. So Maryville is going towards the hybrid, the poke dive, whatever we want to call it as well. They are choosing interesting. So Maryville is choosing to run the McCree, which I understand. The McCree hybrid isn't a very good comp into anything except the hybrid, but is okay into the hybrid, and drifters are sort of running the hybrid comp here. So that's not wild to me. I'm okay with that. The McCree is worse against the Ash, but will be better if these guys swap into Tracer, because the McCree, can threaten the Echo, can threaten the Tracer, is generally a good hero right now, etc. So McCree isn't great in general in this comp, but is when you're specifically playing in the mirror, and we're almost playing in the mirror. The more weird thing to me, definitely, is that we've gone with, hey, the Brig version of this. And the Brig version of this can make sense if you're playing into the full mirror. So if you're playing if this is a Tracer, then these are affected. Well, also, this has got to just be a hold for the Grav. I have to expect that that's going to swap to Diva. But what you'd see here is if this was a Tracer and these guys were effectively playing in basically a mirror, uh, this pick would be normal. This pick would be a, hey, we're choosing to run the Brig instead of the Mercy. That means our Zen is safer from being dove by the Ball, Tracer, etc. Our backline can rotate a little bit to make your backline move, etc. Whereas these guys would have the Mercy that would go, hey, we have the better poke. We can poke your divers harder. We're more likely to get pickoffs, etc. We can pocket our Echo harder, make her win that fight. But that's a relatively even balance, etc. So it's normal to see Mercy versus Mercy, Brig versus Brig, Mercy versus Brig. All of those are pretty normal and wouldn't really surprise anyone. What's weird to me here is specifically that Maryville swapped into this comp. They were the ones who were on Brawl before. They swapped into this comp, so they just swapped into this Brig, 1% ult charge, when Drifters don't just have the Mercy, they have the Mercy plus the Ash. So they've gone full on poke. They've gone full on poke. There's no one to help JKRU here except Diva with dives. That's not enough to justify having the Brig. Like, if you've got the Tracer and the Ball to worry about, sure, the Brig makes sense. But just to worry about it for the Ball mostly, plus occasionally a Diva, that's a tougher justification. I don't really like that. That's a strategic mistake as far as I'm concerned. Unless they're like very confident that Valen is literally right about to go Tracer, etc. But there's no reason. So this is probably a comfort thing. I wonder if Halo just doesn't feel comfortable on the Mercy, or they've practiced the Brig version way more, etc. Okay, going into this fight, they're coming out on the hybrid. That's fine. They're now going to play. I mean, yes, I do understand they have a stun heavy backline with this, so like they really can punish that Ball when he comes in, etc. But the Ball never needs to come in. Like, the Ball doesn't have to come in any way, because again, we have poke heavy, poke heavy, poke heavy, and poke heavy all on Drifter's side here, whereas Maryville's poke is just going to really be this Zen plus this Tracer. Now, they can sort of handle it by going, hey, we're going to force a win with this Grav, which is what I expect them to do. Maybe they're going this more brawl heavy version of hybrid, specifically to go, we're going to try to rotate in close on you. We're going to try to sustain until we can rotate our core onto you, and then we're just going to win with Grav. And then after that, we've won and we'll get a chance to fix our comp, etc. Maybe that's what's going on here. I do expect them to try to rotate in close to try to still use some cover to get their Zarya close, so that they can Grav, have good follow up, etc. Because they do have, of course, their combo right here. Okay. These guys should just not let it happen. I mean, Drifter should just be looking to go, hey, we're going to stay spread. We're going to keep rotating away from you. We want to prolong the fight before the engage happens. A, because we don't have ults up, and you guys potentially do in Grav and Pulse Bomb, and we should be tracking that. Like, Pulse Bomb you sometimes lose track of, but Grav, they should definitely know that there's a Grav on the table. And B, hey, we've got the much better poke. We know we have the better poke, so we want to just keep rotating away from you, keep poking at you hard as you rotate through vulnerable spots. Do I need to miss anything do I need to catch up on chats? We covered Norvex. We covered that Hirsch is here. Tyler is calling out Hirsch about rights. And then we've got Bryce as well. Okay, fine. 800 subs, yep. Would Sombra over Kree be more ideal to play for better dives to beat their poke? You could make that argument, sure, but honestly, like that's an okay thing to do, sure, but honestly, you'd usually just expect them to mirror. You'd usually expect them to be running the Echo instead of the Kree. If they wanted to run the Sombra, there's things you can do to punish that, but that's not a bad comp necessarily. It becomes a problem. Like you could do, it doesn't really make sense. What you run into is, hey, you could run the Sombra over the Kree specifically because these guys are going so poke heavy, but that's not a comp you'd usually want to run because like running the Kree, it's too weak against too many things. Like if you're running Tracer Sombra plus these guys at a brawl comp, you just lose. Whereas if you're running Tracer Echo versus a brawl comp, you have ways to win, etc. You follow what I'm saying? So like it's another one of those things sort of like running the McCree where it's like it could work in this specific situation, but they probably haven't trained it at all because it's not something you would need to run. Like the McCree is better generally at fighting the actual mirror than the is generally better at fighting the actual mirror than the Sombras. This isn't the actual mirror because they've gone extra into poke here, like extra into poke. Um, so you wouldn't really spend time training that, and it's generally going to be better to do the thing that you've run 50, 100, 300 times in scrims than it is to pull out something unless you're really struggling and you need to invent something because you're going against something you've never seen before. And this certainly isn't something they've never seen before. These are common swaps for the hybrid that Drifters is running here. Anyway, let's take a look. Let's see if the backline rotates in properly or if Drifters is able to really pressure them hard while rotating away. Oh, I see Sombra health pack arguments. Um, Hedging bets, gotcha. Sombra MP and having health packs. Hacked is really nice, though. Oh, yeah, no, I love it. I mean, I was a huge fan of the Eska meta for that small window we had it when health packs gave ult charge, etc. when hacked. But I hear you. Drifters have not taken the space I would have expected here. That's surprising to me. Like, when you look at this, Drifters had good space here. Again, I don't love that these two are basically on the same sight line. Like this is, I know they're both going, hey, this is the box we have to be able to shoot into, but this sight line and this sight line are way too close to the same thing to me. I want to see good rotations left from Valen here and a good rotation sort of back this way from Nos as this goes on, and I don't think that's what we're going to see. Um, okay. Like, yes, our backline is vulnerable to a dive. I'm not sure why our Diva wasn't closer to protect our Zen there. Maybe the Zen got knocked away by a roll first, but I kind of doubt it. I'm also not sure how Cameron got in so hard, so deep without Jakaru marking better. So when you know you have the better poke, like this comp does, your ball is interested in marking. Now, it's a little tough for your ball to mark because if your ball marks too hard, he's going to run into on the flanks a tracer plus ball, but ball should not have gotten in this healthy. There should have been some damage or some blinks forced out of light, some damage to Cameron or some blinks forced out of light by Jakaru on the win. Like these guys should not have been able to get this close. Jakaru needed to be on one of the flanking routes, on the flanking route that he expected they were going, which was probably over here because it's through the mega, etc., and needed to chip them a little so that when they show up, they're showing up missing resources, etc. This is too late to be going, oh, I'm peeling as a tank. No, when you're a tank and when you're a dive tank trying to peel against dives, your first battle is to tank trade to deny their staging, so that if they go for the dive, they're missing health or resources when they go in for the dive. So this is too late for Jakara to be contributing here. Likewise, our diva being back here as opposed to part way up here or on cart with our diva is wrong in this setup. Mm-hmm. And this is going to let their backline in because Drifters is having to work so hard to deal with the divers that are already in. Yeah, and you see, coming back this hard to deal with the divers is not getting them is expensive, and it's again because we didn't poke them hard enough. You want your poke on the divers, in fact, when you're playing this poke heavy version, because if you can force NOS and balance poke onto the tracer, the ball, etc., that's going to keep them weak also, and give you longer to keep poking. Like it might seem like, oh, I want to poke their backline. I want to poke out their Zen, their Brig, their Zarya, etc. That might seem like the case, but you actually buy yourself infinitely more time by poking, even though it's much harder to get the elimination on the Tracer or the Ball. If you keep poking at them whenever they're available with your poke DPS, you're going to keep chipping them down and keep making it almost impossible for them to stage a dive, which buys you yet more time to either keep poking at them or then potentially go get an elimination on the backline. So I don't like how this was handled by Drifters. I just don't think they made the proper adjustments in terms of their target priority, who they were working on, their marking, etc., to play into the change that, hey, Maryville is now running a hybrid of sorts, etc. And by doing this, you see they've given up all of their map control. Like drifters are so tight here, etc. And that means that the rest of the map on second belongs to Maryville, and it shouldn't. Because remember, Maryville just had to come back from third spawn to get out here. So this should not have happened yet. And their stage, they've got their tracer here, they've got their ball over there, not missing much health. Like, this is a bad situation to be in. And it's not a situation that they should be in yet as drifters. Good eat. Were we just gonna go away without seeing if Tracer's in trouble? Okay. Who ended up getting it? Chikaru managed to get mines on the Zen. Did the Tracer get out? I don't think Light got out because the recall would have cleared the Discord, which means he should still be pinned roughly fighting the Diva there. I guess he got out. What what are you doing? So we rotated, we used our grav. That was a big thing to get out there, but we only got really the echo out of it. So that's probably not a good enough win condition. Drifters did a good job of turning this so far, it looks like, after an initial really poor surrendering of space. But what is this? Like we're rolling to chase a Brig who still has full health, who maybe doesn't have stun, maybe that's why we feel like we can follow them. But this is like we're pile driving. Okay, there's Bash right there, and of course there's going to be a flashbang too. Like, why are we rolling his ball after this pair? This is exactly who you don't roll after his ball. Ah, boy. Maybe Odd lied and said that, I've got your back, I've got your back. That was a lie. But should be an easy finish. Okay. Okay, now we've got more balanced spawns. It's going to be a little tougher to hold space, but it looks like Drifters is going to be able to take the space control again off of a mostly one fight. I mean, they won the fight, but they didn't cleanly win the fight, and the spawns are more equidistant now, so it was a question of if they'd be able to take hold space, etc. Why are we still in that Zara? Oh, the Zara didn't go down. Okay, that's a giant stagger. Why is that not being forced? Eliminate the Zarya right now. Eliminate the Zarya right now. Thank you. Okay, and they don't get a second fight because that was a terrible stagger, and they don't have the ults to force a second fight through man disadvantage. I don't think we needed that trans. What was that even for? Oh, to save the diva? Okay. No, we used self-destruct. Diva shouldn't have been... Oh, Diva was there getting the Zarya. That's a fine trade. I just don't know why we transed. Yeah, that's weird. Was there no pulse bomb? Did Light find our Zen? Yes. Yes. Okay, so the flankers are in. So this is again wrong, guys. Like the ball and tracer are in, and we're poking at their back line. Like this is we're too obsessed about forcing the card as drifters here. I don't know why I'm saying we for drifters. Drifters is too obsessed about focusing the card just like they were on first tier. Like Maryville has already given up their second fight on this point by losing their Zarya. So unless drifters make a mistake and try to rush things, you don't get a real fight from Maryville. Maryville is going to have to force a 5v6 or they're going to have to leave, and they don't have the ults to take a good 5v6. So you play this the standard to the formula way, and the standard to the formula way is not, hey, let's poke at their backline and not let their backline in. It is to go, hey, let's use our poke to deny their flankers, their ball and their tracer, because that a does work, spends them resources, and keeps buying us more and more and more and more time because we're playing a more poke heavy comp into a more dive heavy comp. So we want to go, hey, your dive never actually gets to come through because you're chipped down too hard, etc. So our Zen is being pressured, and I feel bad for our Zen, and I feel bad that for our Zen. I feel bad for Drifter Zen that they had to pop Transcendence here, but it shouldn't even have come to this. Like our Echo should be shooting at Light. Our Ash should be shooting at Cameron. Like that's what should be happening here. Zen should not be alone over there on cart. Like, I understand why Diva was away. Diva was away getting the Zarya elimination, and that's fine, even though Diva would usually be our first line of peel. But, like, these flankers should have been chipped harder by what we had available in terms of poke. Yes, I don't expect our poke to follow them into this building. That's scary. But I also expect our Zen to rotate in ways that are sort of away from the building, so they have to come out and are vulnerable to Echo poke, Ash poke, etc. Thanks, Bryce. Thanks. Um, okay, so Drifters got it, but they're trying hard to give Maryville openings back in, and mostly off the back of, hey, let's force the point when that's not the play. Like drifters should know that when you have double poke and you're playing against multiple divers like this, your poke goes into the divers to deny them. And they should also know that when you're up in a fight, they don't have their Zarya, like, of course you're going to go, oh, hey, let's play this to recipe, let's play this standard, unless there's a specific ult, like a Grav, we need to worry about them forcing a win with, or a rally, etc., and there wasn't. Guru is, they're still on that because he's close to the Grav again, okay. I have to imagine that's what's going on, and it's not a case of either Guru feeling much more comfortable on Zarya or them feeling Zarya is the stronger hero. If they do, they're wrong. Okay, are we gonna shoot at the tracer with our echo drifters? No, no, that would have been too. Okay, whatever. Okay, I really hope we've got some marking. Like, I would like to see Jakaru in the back because we know Tracer just went around back. I would like to see Jakaru in the back trying to mark Tracer. Like, yes, Jakaru doesn't want to perma take that fight, but if Jakaru takes that fight closer to cart, not equidistance from cart of the Tracer, that is going to be a, hey, we can soften Tracer and we can turn and get Harmony Orbs, etc. So, like, that's what we'd like to see. So here we're gonna rotate our stronger backline. This is not where I want Jakaru. This is no, no. What? Why is this so hard? Oh my god. Yes, you have minefield. Yippee doo, yippee yay. I don't care. Good fundamentals, good neutral play. The ults evolve your strong neutral play. It's not a case of okay. And let's see. Let's see. The tanks were able to get in and take down our Ash. And then with our Ash gone, the McCree takes out our Echo, our Drifter's Echo. Okay. Hey, Game Buster. Yes, Game Buster. We're watching the match between the OD match between Maryville Uni and Drifters. Drifters is generally a contenders team, and Maryville Uni is a collegiate team made up of a bunch of contenders players. So it's basically a contenders match. And I knew people were curious about the meta and such, and I wanted to do some analysis myself, so some of that is going to happen on stream. Okay, so the setup here in Maryville, they don't really have flank control with this tracer. This is an interesting place to be, but they do have that grab. That's going to make this corner really tough to force. This is actually going to be a challenge to force, and I am surprised that we're still in the double poke. We have moved over to the McCree now instead of the Echo, which is an improvement, but it just shouldn't even be double poke anymore. Like, I'd actually look to do this mirror. I do like that Aspen is swapped here. So this swap here, you see Aspen has gone over to the Brig, which is good. And we've also dropped the Echo for the McCree, which is fine. But at this point, Maryville has the better comp, and I would like to see Valen swap off to the Tracer. Or Drifters can completely flip the script and go, let's go ahead and force Brawl. We'll keep our Diva because we've got that. We don't have any ult charge. This is a free swap. This is a free swap. This we just swapped. We can keep Zen for around if we want. Or we can just force Brawl. Like, I actually think what Drifters should do right now with where their ult charge is and what point they are on the map, they should literally just hard swap to Brawl and win in here. Because it is going to be hard to get people to be able to do things, especially knowing that you have to push through this corner, which you effectively do, into a grab, etc. So let's make the swap now. Let's have Drifters make the swap now into Brawl, and Brawl is going to be a bit stronger on this part of the map. Yes, there's still good high ground on Route 66 third, but Brawl is going to be more favored here. If you guys have been following what these teams have been playing in other matches, etc., and what other people have been playing, you're still seeing some hybrid. You're seeing mostly hybrid, I'd say, but Brawl is being played, especially in the tighter quarters like this, etc. And between the map geometry and where the ults are, this would be the right time to make that swap. That went exactly how we expected. Are we going to get more swaps now? No. We're going to try and brute force it. This is going to be really hard. Well, it would be really easy on Brawl. It would be moderate on Brawl. Well, it's really hard on this. Okay, that's nice. I'm glad. Light fed a little there, so let's at least I think that's what happened. I have to assume Light was in. No, Light was just standing there. Did Light drop? Or was it just, hey, they hit the shot? Nice flash. Okay. Okay, Light didn't feed. I'm wrong. It's fine. Okay. And now everything flips because they were able to force this. And again, they mostly forced this off of getting that early pick on the tracer that you can't count on. But this is going to completely change things because now they'll have map control, they'll have the high ground, etc. And even though they'll be closer to Mary's spawn, this should be a pretty easy hold. Why are you doing this? Why do you guys hate me so much? This is one sight line. This is another. Honestly, though, this is the sightline I want my McCree on, and I want my Ashe more up over here, and I want my Diva looking this way to make sure that my Ashe is safe over here. Like, that's what I want. I know it's more dangerous, it's more aggressive, it feels scary, etc., but, like, we don't want both of these on the same sightline. It's not good. It's wrong. Oh, let me, maybe lower this quality on this a little bit because it looks like the stream is hurting a bit. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and this is an easy cleanup because drifters Yeah, this is an easy cleanup because drifters had positional advantage even if they didn't take as good a positional advantage as they should. And even losing one, that shouldn't stop this, and neither should the minefield. Plus, rally is pretty OP. Okay. Oh no, that was it complaining about the audio bit rate, which is probably it just being confused about my not having audio going. Apologies, guys. We'll try to bring back the quality. If I'm wrong and you guys are hearing gargled audio from me, please let me know in chat. Okay, so what are we going to see here? Is Drifters going to do the same thing? Drifters is going to do the same thing, except they didn't really hide that they were doing it, did they? No, they're just completely being open about it. But this is interesting changes that we should call out. So Drifters is also opening in Brawl. They're not hiding that they're doing it, but the interesting things are the swaps that they made. So they have the May instead of the Reaper, which I think is better. Maybe time will prove me wrong, but I think that's better. They have the Diva instead of the Zarya, which I also think is better. Um, they have the Moira, which I'm not a huge fan of, but they know that they're going to be playing into this. I expect. I expect that they think it is very, very likely that this is what they will be playing into, and that makes the Moira less bad. I think overall BAP is the better pick, etc. But if you know that you're not playing into another brawl 100%, the Moira is a little bit better as a choice. I still wouldn't go for it. I would prefer what BAP brings you. Okay, it is interesting to see these changes. I just wanted to point them out. It doesn't do huge things in terms of changing how it plays. It does, of course, have Hey Diva is much more able to contest people that take high ground off angles, etc., and that's pretty darn important. It changes the matchup into Brawl, but we're not going against that. And instead of the Reaper, which didn't really help us that much into this, we have the May, which does help us quite a bit more into this. The May gives us more ability for the team to sustain. The May has her own invulnerability cooldown like Reaper did, but the May also brings the wall, and the wall can block a direction that spam would be coming from, can let a team exist for longer, sustain for longer, on point, etc., because they can block out the direction that the Ashe is shooting, that the Echo is shooting, that the Diva is shooting from, whatever the case may be there. Or they can go, no, we got naded, let's throw a wall up to buy some time, etc. Like, I do like this better, and it's also, of course, got the potential. This ball is much more scared. This ball is meaningfully more scared. Maybe not much more scared, but meaningfully more scared of a McCree plus May than it is a McCree plus Reaper. Okay. Do I need to catch up? 2 weeks, 16 viewers, 18 now, 16. Hey, Spilo. Sounds good. Later, man. Uh, hey, Kingston. Happy to have you here. Okay. Oh, and Maryville did the same thing and is running the double poke. Except the difference from Maryville that is worth pointing out here is that they didn't run with the Ana. This you'd expect. This you'd expect, not necessarily the elimination. This is a bit unusual that we're running the Ana instead of the Zen here, because the Zen gives us better poke, meaningfully better poke. Plus, we see there's a Diva on the other side. So, like, this nade isn't expected to get a huge ton of value, etc., etc. And there's no great like Genji or anything to combo with. We didn't go like Echo Genji or something like that. So this is weird right here. My thought is maybe they're thinking, oh, we need to be able to sustain our ball better, but that's wrong. Like that's just wrong. Um, I will be very surprised. Maybe there's something specific where they're going for a cheeky sleep dart to open everything up, and it's a set play that they've practiced or something. But I don't like this. I agree, Bryce. Okay, so the maze here. We're kind of getting split as drifters, but hey, we've won the fight enough. Okay. And I say split, but the McCree was pretty far back and they weren't being let in. Okay. It's not the best defense matrix usage, but I'll live. That's a bit of a dangerous place to end this booster. We're going full on spawn camping, okay. Had the Moira pockets. Team knew that he had the Moira pocket and backed off. Good. By his team, I mean Drifter's front line backed off because their Moira got pulled to help the McCree. And now they take the space back. Okay. Oh, spawn camping. I do enjoy you. Yeah. Good to know, Storm. Good to know, Spilo. I haven't done as much recent scouting as you, so I'm gonna trust that you're more tuned in there than I am. But yeah, we certainly know which team they're channeling the energy of right now. But hey. So they're doing this. It might seem like their McCree is super vulnerable, etc., because he's playing back, he's playing away from the team, etc., and like, hey, he's alone, he could be dove, etc. People could get angles on him. It's not really true because they're doing a good job of managing exactly how many people get out at once, get past them, and you can't really get angles on him if you can't get out of spawn to get angles, etc. So they're being very aware of who gets past, and they're moving their resources like the Moira, like we saw when someone gets back there to potentially challenge him, etc. So they're going, hey, can have the distance, can have the wide angle himself, etc. And then May is doing a good job of going, nope, I only want you guys coming out of this spawn room right now if people are split, etc. Like you saw that May wall earlier where we got the, hey, the Zen wants to come out this way, other people are coming out this way. You don't have to wall to split the team, like the hard wall of, oh, I'm going to split the team when they're walking out here. No, you can just wall to not let someone out of this spawn when someone's come out of this spawn. It's easier to hit and you could do good work, etc. And it accomplishes the same thing as a wall split on, say, Hanamura choke. So this is being driven well so far. But they did lose their Diva Mac, and we did line that up. So, of course, as soon as I jinx it, it's over. And it's just too much coming from the front there. Why does so much come from the front there? Do they let an echo out that they don't mean to? Oh, is it the duplicate? No, the duplicate's over. Moira's turning to deal with the coalescent. That echo doesn't have a pocket anymore. Why are we not paying enough attention to the front entrance anymore? May's on this, that's fine. The TNT comes in. Yeah, so this was the issue. Drifters pivoted from attention on the Baby Diva to attention behind them without checking on the main entrance for too long. And Wall's not available, but there are tools that are available. Plus, this just shouldn't happen. Like, we still have Ice Block. We still have Ice Block. No, should not have gone down there. And that's probably the beginning of the end because the spawn distance is so close. But it's good. Like, it's not the end of the end yet. It's the beginning of the end, and that's a minute and a half off the clock. It is a shame, though, that it's the May who had a blizzard, etc. They may rotate ults, though, to buy time for the May to get back. No, they've let him in too much. This isn't going to work anymore. Yeah, Bryce, I'm in much the same boat. Okay, so we should see Maryville take a bunch of space again here. Okay. We're Hey guys! Hey! Our Ash and Echo are split more. I like it. I like it. This is a better angle difference. Now let's see if our ball doesn't go in, doesn't go in here, but instead goes on them when they're up here or when they're out here. Let's see if that happens. Good. Oh, but we're late. So you guys saw that. The ball was positioned in such a place where Cameron couldn't get a good roll through as Cameron, right? Yeah, okay. Cameron couldn't get a roll through because Cameron can't build speed close enough to hit a roll through there. Plus, this is a scary team to hit a roll through on. Like, I don't want to undersell that. Like, this is a scary team to hit a roll through on. You don't want to do the full 6-person roll through. It's just too dangerous. You want to catch, like, the back of them. Like, as they're going into gas station, you want to knock one or two of them away, the back one or two of them away, etc., because their momentum's carrying them a bit this way. They're going to have a little more trouble focusing you down, etc. You can't just hit the roll through into 6 when they have the McCree and the May. So it's harder, but this is still positioned wrong, and we don't get any sort of roll through. But we've got the mines. That mines should do a pretty good job. Oh, well, it was nice knowing you, Panic. Okay, I guess we call. I guess that was reasonable judgment to just believe that we're gonna trans there, so we hold the mines. No boops. It is on new patch. Okay, so drifters lose their McCree, which okay. I mean, that makes sense. Trans was going, etc. And now the May should go down. No shots at the May? Really? Why are you just standing here, Cameron? This I'm fine with. You know how weak the May is. You ball up, which is fine with me. Fine with me. The reloads happened. Why are we still in ball form? Like, there's shots to be had on that 30 health May. Okay. I'm glad Papa Yup finished that off. Okay, so this is going to be messy. Cart's been moving, but it's not a clean win, that's for sure. This probably works though, because the surround is good enough from drifters. Yeah. Probably did. Sadly, I don't have the replay code, just the stream. Did that really get turned? Okay. Why is there a Reinhardt? What? Who thought it was a good idea to swap Reinhardt here? Oh no, I'm backwards on my teams. Okay, that's fine. That's fine then. It wasn't a swap Reinhardt, it was a still on Reinhardt situation. Okay, so I lied. The surround is better from red, but that doesn't really help with the comp that red is still mostly running. Okay, I confused myself. And then, I mean, that's still doable because you've got a brawl comp fighting a brawl comp indoors. Not really, but drifters have forced that by duplicating Orion, and then it's not really an advantage to fight in there. Okay. This should be tough to get back in. Maryville should be able to deny this pretty hard. Again, Maryville's got the double poke. Don't need to be in this hard, Cameron. You don't want to force point right now. Your job is not to force point. Your job is to set up surrounds. Okay. It's fine. It's over. Should lose the mech. I want to see that. That tracer shouldn't get our ball. How's our Zen doing? Of course our Zen's already down because we don't poke at flankers adequately. Sad. Okay, so this is just about over. Okay, so that ended up being a little shorter than we'd have liked, but it works out effectively. Drifters had a much better a much better spawn hold, we'll effectively say, than Maryville did, and that makes the difference. I really wasn't a fan of either team's ability to sort of understand in the matchup what they need to do to protect their Zen there, but that was less of an issue, we'll say, for um, I would say Drifters had the much better spawn camp, but Drifters also had the worst understanding of what they needed to do in the matchup when they had the double poke, etc., in terms of poking out the flankers, etc. I also am not sure how they would have broken third if they hadn't gotten that lucky tracer elimination. That would have been very tough for them. So this might look one-sided, but there's definitely lots of room for improvement for both of these teams. Yeah. Let's do another one because I'm kind of curious now where we're gonna go. Let's get something more interesting than casters chatting. Kings Row? Do I want to do Kings Row? I want to do Kings Row. Okay. So are we gonna see a brawl mirror here? If anyone actually has questions about that one, anything that they feel wasn't explained well enough or rose more questions, that's absolutely fine. Throw them up in here. Recent is 6 months ago. Is spawn camping a viable strat where high ground on first point is later in the point? Example, Route 66 or Havana? Well, it's clearly a viable on Route 66 because it just worked. Um, it, I haven't seen a ton of it on Havana, but I haven't seen Havana in the competitive map pool a ton while I was previously professionally coaching. So I'm going to have to take a rain check on answering that, Joshua. But if I just think for a moment, it should still be possible because there's still cover you can use, etc. Like, it's not like the defense has early access to high ground. There's not a high ground exit on Havana. It's a less viable strategy when the spawn has a high ground, like on Rialto. It's certainly a lot less viable. But the key there is that there's an exit from the spawn at you can walk out up top, etc. On Havana, that's not true. Okay. The Rhine map, yes. Yes. 3 fights instead of two. Yeah, no, that makes sense for Havana. That as I kind of processed that through my head, that absolutely makes sense. Okay, the Widow probably isn't real, so are we both choosing to run Zarya now? It's a little surprising to me. I thought we were going to see Drifters commit to the Diva here. Okay, so if we look at our differences, they're both running the McCree May. I like the McCree May, so I think that's good. The Lucio Briggs, I like that. They know they're playing into Brawl, so they could make the decision to um, no, that's good. I like that. That's better pressure. That's what I want. That's fine. When they know they're playing into Brawl, they're both doing it. The Zaryas is the thing that's a little bit questionable to me. I know players tend to like Zarya better. I'm not sure Zarya is the best pick for that spot right now, to be perfectly honest, but we'll see. Okay, nothing too wild. Are we just gonna poke at the choke guys, or are we gonna go? Cool. Okay. Let's get one more look at this wall here. Our wall matchups are going to be somewhat important. I was trying to do this at a time when the May can't see to get everyone through. Not that it would matter. They're separated enough that you could break a wall pillar before they'd get on top of you. Okay, the wall comes in here. That's not terribly surprising. Did our May get walled in front or behind as red? Arme is there too, so we should have our counter wall, which we did. And this ended up as a worse trade, it looks like, for Drifters. That's not super wild. I mean, you, if you can, you'd like to hit your wall split in such a way, if you're doing the first wall, that you block the other May from being in. You want to separate people and you want to block the other May from being in because it's going to delay their wall and you can potentially get value in that time difference. We didn't get that. That's always hard to get. How shall I say? Drifters or Maryville didn't get that on Drifters. That's always hard to get. But they were then able to focus the May, but it's too late. The wall's out, and the number of people in this little V that we've created uh, looks bad for Maryville. On the other hand, we've seen big cooldowns come out of Drifters already, and that they used both their ice block and their lamp. So that's a little dicey. Of course, the BAP takes the high ground. Um, yeah, that's unfortunate. That probably shouldn't have traded that way. Like if you look at how these walls went out, yes, we got the first wall and it was an okay wall from Maryville. We got a wall that probably should have been more impactful here. We probably have more people in this fight. Is it a case of Drifters BAP is late to get high ground? Because we see we're pretty quick on getting high ground there. Where is Panic? Excuse me, where is Mima? 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 Maybe Mima was there. No, Mima has to have been because the lamp came out. Oh, but it was just no, Mima, stand on top of the wall. Ugh. Okay, so Mima just jumped to throw the lamp in. Mima didn't jump and land here and go, "Hey, I'll play from here." Or, jump play from here for a second and then transition over to here or try to play from here, etc. Like this was the play so that contribution could continue into this fight. This was the play. And that's the difference maker right here. Yeah, we see that Panic is up there. That helps even the fight a bit. That gives a lot of healing in there. And that ultimately is going to be what swings this. And then, okay, ultimately in there, Drifters still got ahead in that fight. Like Drifters were still in there just because they raw had more bodies, even though Mima didn't join with contribution. And while that's happening, it looks like we had a McCree flank trade that went in Maryville's favor. So that happens. I do look at that and go, hey, this was a misplay. Mima should have been contributing harder to this fight. That probably would have led to actual eliminations. It potentially would have saved that lamp because that was a very early lamp. That was I'm afraid I won't be able to contribute lamp. Um, but that may not have changed anything in the back line from the flank from Papa Yap. I think we've answered that now, Bryce. The reason the lamp came out so early was because it was just I'm hopping and I'm floating in the air for a moment, not I'm actually on top of high ground, which was wrong. Okay, now we're going to set up here. Oh, is this clean up? Okay, just clean up. That's fine. It's a little tough to contribute even if you hit this wall if your Reinhardt is this far back. Like, I'm not a huge fan. Are they not going for it? Is May just up there trying to get poke? Is May particularly close? May is not particularly close to an ult there. Okay. We shift back. We're trying to bait them left for our McCree. Are we going to instead bait them right to our Zarya? Okay, but you got to commit on this hard. Well done. Oh, and you lamp too. Or you window too. Okay, that was pretty solid. Okay, we should be looking at some ults coming into play. We just saw Window come out of Maryville. We've still got High Noon, and then over for Drifters, we've only got Window. Yeah, that sucks when you lose a couple team fights in a row. So looking at that, it's going to be High Noon and Blizzard. That's rough. There's not a great way to use the window until you've really transitioned past statue. Like they'll get some value out of it, but ugh. Okay. Mm-hmm. Didn't need to let them in as hard as we did here. Is this respect for an ult that they don't have, or are they respecting window this hard? You don't need to respect window this hard. In fact, you'd like to make them spend their window earlier at something like this first choke because they're about to be able to actually get a position that makes window effective. This is disappointing. They must be respecting a different ultimate that they don't actually have, but their ult tracking is going, well, it's been 2 fights, so surely you have this by now, but Drifters lost both of those first 2 fights pretty hard. They lost the second fight pretty darn hard. They lost the first fight moderately hard. Yeah, like now you get an easy window. And this window has value because like you have to either give up the point, go into hotel and get split, or go back, lose your Rhine shield going back, and then try to push back up without a Rhine shield after the window's over and you've given up ticks. This space should not have been surrendered. Okay, like yes, we're able. Oh, maybe they were kiting specifically to get Blizzard. Is that what they were doing? Are we in anywhere particularly enabling Horthic? A little bit. Yeah, they were kiting specifically to get Blizzard. I can live with that. I don't think it's right if you know that you don't need it. Like if you know that all Drifters has to work with is window, you've given them a much better window than they could have gotten earlier in the push, etc., and you could win the neutral. Like you didn't need to do this. This opened up more risk than you should have. Okay. Okay, where are we ult-wise now? Let's take a look. So we have full tank ults from Maryville, and Beat will be there as well, with Window coming in mid-fight versus effectively Blizzard Beat from Drifters. Okay, that's fine. I expect this to be a pretty normal engagement at the normal spot here. Like we're gonna play for this like we effectively had with walls, etc., but the real fight will probably end up happening here if we don't get huge wall value. It's two teams that are a bunch of contenders players. Officially, contenders isn't happening right now, so officially this is an open division tournament. But the Drifters is usually a contenders team, and Maryville University that's a bunch of contenders players. They're a top three collegiate team. They scrim against contenders teams as often as not. Let's go see our walls if we have a decent view to do so. Okay, so that's the rotation through there. Did we use a wall before they got there? No, we didn't use a wall. That's a little dicey to go through there. Where is Maryville's May? Excuse me? Seriously, where's Maryville's May? Okay, right there. I haven't seen a wall yet. Why is there not a split here? Like, this should get crushed. No. This was easy to rotate right on, hit a wall split, and have them be late to the fight. Like, yes, there's two exits, I get that, etc. But like, this was relatively easy to use a wall and create a 2.5, 3 second delay before the second half, last two members, whatever, can join the team and potentially punish it with your tank ults. Like, this is weird. Okay, there's that wall. Did they come out with their May first and wall to block the May? Is that what happened? Was it a, hey, our May was like first person out and hit the wall before your May could? There's our McCree. I don't have a good sight line. That's Lucio, that's Reaper. Is there a May over there? Maybe behind? Maybe that's a May right behind the Zarya? Nos? Yeah, okay. So we must have hit or Drifters must have hit the May wall immediately, which is disappointing because Horthic should have known exactly what they were going for, and this should have been a pretty easy split, even if the only thing you get is May. Like, if you only get May, force her ice block, everyone's in, then she can't hit a good wall. Disappointing. Mm-hmm. You're gonna kite. Those were weird stacked ults. We shatter that. That's fine. This is okay, so this is fine that the response to the shatter is the beat. That's correct, but you don't need the beat and the blizzard. Both of those are ults that enable you to push. Yes, I know the beat was primarily used as protection from the shatter, but not everyone got shattered, so it's going to get some offensive value, sustaining through the fight, etc. You don't want to stack beat on top of another ult that's doing work for you, especially a control ult like Blizzard. You want to stagger them, just like you wouldn't stack beat with, you wouldn't beat when you shattered the other team. You wouldn't beat when you were transcendencing. Like, beat is something that you don't layer it with other ults. You go, hey, one ult, and then if we need more, we do the next, etc. with this type of ult. And this is weird that we have Blizzard and beat coming out at the same time here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, we get to go, hey, Drifters use two ults at once that they shouldn't. So the ult cycle here was Maryville throughout their shatter. Drifters effectively answers with both their Blizzard and their Beat at the same time. Guru goes, hey, I'm just going to stop you guys from chasing. Like, I'm going to slow you down with a Grav, which is fine with me. We're not going to get a bunch of eliminations during this Grav, but it's effectively a, we're holding you back during your double stacked ults with a Grav. Good play. And even though even though Maryville loses one here, now they get to use their own beat and win. Well, okay, you can say that their beat is to answer the you can say their beat is to answer the grab and the window is for them to win. I don't really care. Either way, this was a better ult usage distribution, even though they put more ults into this. This was, I expect Maryville to win this. Yeah. And they won this after initially going down, right? Am I crazy? Yeah, they won this after initially going down, and that was purely off of the back of a better distribution of their ults. They didn't just blow their load on ults there. It was a, okay, we understand. We're doing an ult to go up in the fight. You're answering with two ults. Okay, we can contain that with one ult, so now we're at 2 and 2. Okay, now you're answering us with another ult, and now we actually answer with two more. But it wasn't that they had the greater number of ults there. It really was the better use of them. They didn't stack their, they didn't stack their ults together that didn't do stuff. And some of you might look at that Grav and go, that Grav wasn't any good. We didn't get eliminations during that Grav. No, that Grav was great. Like, conceptually, I didn't actually see how good the Grav was, how many people it contained. I wasn't watching very closely. Conceptually, that was very good to go, oh, you guys are beating and blizzarding. We're just going to hold you back. That'll be fine. Thanks. Okay, so Maryville is getting close to a full hold here. That said, they do have to answer. They do have to handle an Earth Shatter, and their only tool to answer is going to be High Noon. That should be fine. And Drifters have made the swap now. Oh, interesting. So Drifters just made a couple swaps. Drifters are swapping their McCree to a Reaper, which I hate. Or maybe they did that last fight. They must have done that last fight. I hate that. They're also swapping. Come on. They're Zarya to a Diva and they're Mei to a Doomfist. So that does a couple interesting things. The Reaper thing officially makes you better in the brawl. I don't particularly like the Reaper thing. The issues that you run into with the Reaper thing is that, hey, Reaper is great if you're just fighting tanks. If it's all brawl, hey, Reaper has an immortality cooldown like Mei does, etc. So there's cool things there compared to a McCree, etc. But it's so easy to just slow down these fights and let your McCree go, nope, we're just going to slow down this fight. We're just going to let the poke phase last longer. We're going to rotate a little longer, and we're going to wear you out, especially in the era of weaker sustain than we had. And the other thing is BAP regularly gets run now, not Moira. So since we're running BAP McCree, there's enough poke to wear things down pretty consistently before the brawl actually happens. If you're running mirror brawls at each other and you're running BAP McCree and the other team is running Reaper. Like the Reaper isn't enough. There's enough poke to be done before Reaper's effective range to get the value, etc. Keep a poke phase and keep a poke phase at a distance where they can't do it. So I'm not hugely a fan of the Reaper in general. This is a little more interesting though. We've got the Doomfist. I wonder if that's just a comfort pick from Nos, where Nos is going, hey, I really like my Doomfist. If things are going wrong, I'm going to go Doomfist just to try to make something happen. And it does become a better pick when your time starts getting short on the clock and you're going, hey, we got to make something happen. We got to find a pick off. We got to get a little lucky. It's not luck, but we'll call it that for now. If you have to go fishing because it's the last minute and you're not making anything happen, it becomes a bit better. I don't particularly like the Doomfist pick. I also don't particularly like the Reaper pick. The Doomfist has a little more possibility into, especially, yeah, I really don't like that. Like Mei can ice block and wall. McCree has the flash. Um, I'm not particularly a fan of this Doomfist pick, but maybe Nos is particularly comfortable with it. And it's not like it's awful. I just think we can do better. I do like the Diva swap. With the Diva swap, there are some good things that you can do in terms of this gets interesting because we're going into our Brawl mirror with different off tanks, even if we've swapped our DPS heroes too. And that gives our Diva more ability to deny interesting angles, more ability for the Drifters team to be disciplined in terms of, hey, we can specifically be aware of when you do and don't have bubbles, and we really specifically can starve your bubbles. This isn't like goats. In goats, you couldn't really afford to starve bubbles because you had to do enough damage, etc., etc. You can be a lot more precise with your damage in this era, and because you're also not running Zen, you're running BAP, etc., you can keep your Rhine up if he's getting pushed and all that stuff. So you can really starve Zarya's more effectively than you've been able to in the past. And you don't need the Zarya to be your source of damage like you did in Goats because you actually have DPS, etc. So I like this Diva pick. You deny them angles, and then if you don't let their Zarya get charged, you can protect your Reinhardt more consistently than Zarya can. Zarya can only protect their Reinhardt really when bubble is up, whereas Diva can use that matrix as they want, when they want, etc. So if you time it around bubbles and go, we're intentionally not letting you have bubbles, you can get aggressive on us all you want. We'll be aggressive too, but we're going to drop of a hat. We're going to stop being aggressive on you through your bubbles. Then we're going to stabilize, and then we have good windows to push where you didn't get much energy off of your bubbles and you can't protect your Reinhardt, etc. So I do like the Diva swap, but let's see here. What do we have here? Let's see, from Bryce, are you a fan of using window at the end of grab instead of comboing it at the same time, like catching them on the retreats instead of trying to burst them in the grab? I can handle comboing the window with the grab. I'm not necessarily opposed to comboing the window with the grab like we didn't actually see that there. I'm not opposed to comboing the window with the grab if you think you need it. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I'm not opposed to the combo. Using it at the end, sure, if you're not getting done what you want to with the grab and you go, okay, but now they're much more exhausted because, their Rhine Shield just took a ton of damage or they just used the beat, etc., that's fine. I have no issue whatsoever with that. Diva with Doom, oof. Going for Punch Shatter or something. Maybe that's what they're going for. Guessing Doom, Diva, and Reaper are going to try to delete their backline. Yeah, they could be going for some, nice little cute dive plays, etc., that you wouldn't usually see out of a brawl comp. That could be exactly what's going on. Why Diva over Ball for the last minute? Because Ball doesn't really do a ton for this comp. Ball Ball is okay into brawl comps, but ball doesn't help your brawl comp a ton unless it's against something that isn't a brawl comp. Like ball can knock non-brawl comp targets into brawl comps to take care of them, though that's less so with the boop nerf. Ball into a brawl comp is good if ball's surrounded with a bunch of pokers or divers, because ball can be your point contest against a brawl comp, can give you a little bit of presence, etc. But ball's not so good in a brawl v brawl setup, if that makes sense. Like you still might see ball come out for the last second or so. Yeah, this is on live pitch. You might see ball come out for the last couple seconds if like, hey, it's overtime, point contest stuff, etc. But there's no reason for ball to come out right now. Okay, Doomfist setting up a flank. Lucio, don't ignore it. Halo, what are you doing? I want to see some pressure on that Doomfist. Good, good. Halo's putting some pressure on the Doomfist. Not working, but hey. Okay, let's take another look here. Our McCree's sitting there. Can get overwhelmed a bit. Are we getting any bubble value now, or are they hard swapping to? Are they hard paying attention to not feeding bubbles? Haven't seen any bubbles yet. Were we in that much? Oh, it was the lamp for the shatter. Okay, that's fine. Fine. Got the lamp out. Okay, this should go very poorly for him. Should. Yeah. And this should be over even with the window. You don't really have the barrier for this. You don't need to. Don't need to. Okay. What are you doing? What are you doing? Scaring me, Cameron, and you didn't need to. It's messy, though. Maryville's winning, but it's messy. They don't really get to recover from the messy win. They did lose panic there, and now respawn difference is going to do it. Yeah, I don't really think the comp had much to do with that. I think that was, hey, they won the fight, but not cleanly, and now respawn does the difference. Okay. Are they going to be able to touch in time? Nope. They were grouping for another touch, but Cameron went down. Okay. Push up. Yeah, this is on live patch, Tom. This happened over the weekend, Sunday, I think, maybe Saturday, Sunday, I think. Pause that for just a second, and okay. I want to see that engage. Setting up with the Doomfist, we have the forward hold. We're still running the Doomfist Reaper. Ult-wise, we've effectively got Window and Doom versus Grav, Blizzard, High Noon, Window. I mean, this should be a pretty easy turn, even pushing into the hold from Maryville just based on the ult economy. They need to think about, hey, the Doomfist is going to come in from an angle. They still want to think about denying the Zarya. Excuse me. I'm mixing up my teams. They need to think about, hey, we're coming into the hold, but there's just so many tools here. I mean, this should effectively be hey, we rotate in and we are able to win with grab. Hey, we rotate in and we're able to immediately put down a blizzard. Hey, we rotate in and if you guys back off, we potentially are in if you want to push back in, we window. Like, this shouldn't be bad. Okay. Cameron, you don't need to turn to deal with that. Like, you want to keep your attention on the 5 people, not on the 1. Okay. Still not right. Mirrored windows. And yeah, I mean, we're looking at this, but Maryville's ult advantage should just be too much. Should. No peel. Let's take a look here. I think we've already used lamp. Okay, so he just popped up here not realizing he was here. Did the beat not come through in time? Or was it just an angle issue? Just didn't come through in time. They got the bubble. Oh no, it was an angle issue. Yikes. Okay, this might turn it, yeah. Okay, so that's a expensive micro mistake. Jumping up there, not realizing the Reaper had already teleported up there. Or maybe they were jumping up there thinking they could challenge the Reaper because they'd get the Zarya bubble, but that certainly wasn't the case, and that didn't look like the intent based on the direction that the BAP was looking. I agree, Bryce. I was not a fan of that Doom play. But I haven't been a fan of the Doom pick, so, you know. uh, Okay, going into this fight, what do we have? Going into this fight, we get the checkpoint, so we really don't care anymore as drifters. Yeah, we really don't care that much as drifters going into this. We already got our checkpoint. We do have Grav. They don't have anything except Blossom, which hardly counts as an ult. Shouldn't be anything particularly challenging, except that our D.Va's still in baby form, so never mind. We have a little bit of concern. Back out, give up the positioning. Yeah, yeah. So like you look at this and go, they already got the checkpoint. They actually did want to back out to let their D.Va remech rather than potentially take this fight down a man. This was especially when Grav is the ult that they have. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I know you're thinking, hey, maybe we want to enable our D.Va to get her mech, but at 20% she's gonna, or at 70% she's gonna get that back so fast. We don't care. We can't have our Reinhardt with our core because now multiple people can get thing. Like if we were going, hey, our Reinhardt is going to enable it, like we could do the Reinhardt a little bit ahead thing. I don't particularly like that we've now backed our Reinhardt up here. If we were backing our Reinhardt up here, our whole team needed to back up at the same time because now we don't have enough split anymore, and now we have the risk of people getting caught. It looks like our Lucio got out. That's fortunate. But this was a sacrifice your Ryan situation. Like this is not a continue to take this fight. You're probably going to lose this. Like I don't know why we're trying to save this. This is a let them have the ult charge from our Reinhardt. That's fine. They used their grab. They get one elimination. We'll live with that. We took the risk because we wanted to get our mech back, etc. Didn't work out. Shouldn't be remeching here because we're about to feed a bunch of mech charge if they don't eliminate Odd before it gets pulled. But this should have been a cut your losses, let your tanks go, etc. This should not be a teleport in. This should not be a remech. This is all wrong. We're just feeding them ult charge in a lost fight. Uh, things that shouldn't happen. Uh, no, no, this should not happen. Like, Do we not have lamp? Do we not have flashbang? Like what? There's our lamp, and our lamp gets destroyed. Okay, and now it's too late. Like that. Oh my goodness. Okay. I mean, yes, there's DM protecting the Reaper now. It's too late. But honestly, this Reaper should have been stopped much faster at this level. Like, three people right there, including McCree, even if Flash isn't available. This Reaper should have been stopped much faster than he was on this. This is embarrassing. It's a little better than what you'd get in gold, Joshua, because there was, like, if you see this, the one thing that makes this a little better than normal is there's two things that make it a little better than normal, and that is, hey, the team is really distracted because they're trying hard to get this Reinhardt while he's in the grab, and they're trying to break the Diva who's remeching. So, like, those are both quality distractions. Plus, the way this port worked, it went off right as the wall was up, so it seems like that's not instantly where you're looking because, like, the teleport started right before the wall went up, which sort of gives you this situation of you're not looking here because if you didn't realize the exact order that those happened in, you don't realize that he can teleport here. So it's a little better than what you get in gold, but it still absolutely should not be happening at a contenders or trials level game, which this is. That he did. That was a lot of Matrix use to just eat a Fire Strike. Yeah, that was more than the minimum Matrix use time. And that was Matrix for nothing. Um, I think the Diva's better than the, and now we've seen that they've both gone Diva, and I think the Diva's better than the Zarya, but you actually have to understand how to play the comp into the Zarya, and you actually have to have a good Diva. And it's not like an infinitely better thing. It's a, hey, I think this is a little better. Yeah, of course. I mean, that shadow was visible from a mile away. Mm-hmm. Scary window. And Maryville is just gonna. Well, no, okay. Yeah, this is swinging back and forth. Okay, so we've stabilized. Shouldn't have a problem here. Should be able to do this. What? Lucio, you okay there, buddy? You should be able to stay away from a Reinhardt while still contesting point. Like, the Reinhardt plus Lucio are a problem for you, but as soon as we check this Lucio at all, yes, the Reinhardt still has speed, but you should be able to stay away okay there, Halo. Like, you have a little cart distance to give up too. This isn't even showing up in numbers yet, so you have a little bit of cart distance you can give. And you have boop. Like, this should not, Halo should not go down here. Halo got hit by 2 swings in a row and then overcompensate. Oh, yeah, this isn't good. Yeah, okay, that's unfortunate. And now this might be trouble. Mm-hmm. Bye. You just have to feed into the Blizzard. I mean, into the what was Blizzard space, the space that they clearly control. Okay. uh, yeah, yeah. But hey, Lucio's a pretty good Reaper enabler and a pretty good Reaper disabler. Oh, that's not quite what I wanted. Here we go. We're pushing through here. I can live with that. Our one-shot reload. Okay, only one team has walls now. I still don't think that Doomfist is a good pick, but at least we're not on the Widow anymore. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we're just grinding this out. Okay. No secrets here. Okay. So we thought I don't necessarily like some of the comp stuff I saw there, but we saw reasonable brawl play back and forth. Let's see how things continue. We saw one team was going hard with the. Now we're going back to this, so we're not running the Doomfist anymore. We're running the McCree Reaper. Um, I still don't like the Reaper. I do like the Diva, but they did get the finish, whereas Maryville has gone back to the Zarya here. So it'll be, hey, how are these going to play out thing. But now we only have one team with. Yeah, that's Truskly. It is kind of weird. Uh, that's good. Temporal is rooting for them. How does he time that pin? Like what? Eh. Okay, so we're looking at this, and now we've only got Walt on one team, and Walt should be the difference maker here. I really don't think Reaper's that big a deal, though I suppose Reaper becomes a bigger deal when the other team is running Zarya rather than Diva. Mm-hmm. Flash into the bubble. What? Can we not do this? Please? Please? Okay. Easiest. Oh no, that's the May that the pin got hit on, so at least you're not going to be separated by the wall. And you did get the May, but like, I don't like it. This is okay. I'm going to reserve my right not to like that, but hey, sometimes if you go full, we're going to be the more aggressive team, it works out, at least when the other team doesn't know how to respond properly. Uh, By the way, responding properly in this, Cameron can hold this team out. They've already used Flashbang. They don't have great high damage to push. They don't have their own Maywall. Cameron can hold this team out pretty effectively. Like, he's going to have to surrender some space, but he can hold this team out pretty effectively. And Halo can help if need be, while the rest of his team punishes this Reinhardt that is now in here. Like, Bap and McCree can just shred this Reinhardt pretty easily. But that's not going to be what's going to happen. We're going to see all of them turn around to peel Cameron, which lets the entire team in, which lets the entire team support Jakaru's crazy play, we'll call it. Yes, you would. Yes, you would. I do like the cute Reaper thing to go up here. And again, guys, what makes this not a feed is he did it after they effectively forced everyone back into spawn, so no one could see him doing it. Okay, we're taking good angles for drifters. There's the May wall. It does have a split on the Rhine, and it's going to be hard to break, but it's not actually that good a wall because if you look at who's behind it, like let's look at what this wall actually does. We've hit a wall, and the person behind our wall, if I'm not crazy, is our BAP. Well, that doesn't matter if our BAP is behind our wall. A BAP can hop right over the wall. So we haven't actually separated the Reinhardt from anyone because drifters have done a good job here of, hey, Lucio's got this angle, someone's got this angle, I think it's McCree, Diva's got this angle, and Ryan's over here. Ryan's not super separated from the wall. Lucio's going to transition instantly to here, and BAP should be able to hop on top of the wall or hop up to here, etc. So, like, these are still good angles to protect our Reinhardt from. And angles matter in Brawl v Brawl. This isn't Brawl versus Hybrid anymore like we used to be playing, so we don't super stack our Brawl, etc. We're playing in more of a mirror, so the angles become a lot more important. And this wall isn't really denying good angles. BAP isn't a good person to deny with a wall because BAP just hops right over the wall, etc. So this Rhine should be fine unless he gets really scared and backs up hard this way. Which he shouldn't have to do. He can kite a little bit, but he should not hard back up that way because that will be taking away his team's angles, etc. Excuse me? Yeah. And as you see, they're effectively running through a box of doom here. So you guys see what happened here? Like, they don't give us the greatest cameras for it, but this is exactly what I'm talking about with the angles. So this is a doom box. And yes, I'm avoiding certain words because YouTube doesn't like them and doesn't spread my videos well if I use them. This is a doom box. I don't mean doomfist. So this is a doom box. Putting this wall up didn't really help. A wall in this direction would have been much better. So like now blue is going to run through this doom box. They're going to have to stack themselves tight in this doom box because that's the reality of running through it as a group, etc., of all getting Lucio speed boost, etc., which means that they are going to get crushed, punished very, very hard from all of these angles that we're talking about, and now even this one, while they're going through here, while they are completely surrounded, etc., and it is very much not going to feel good. So they're immediately going to get their lamp forced. They're potentially going to get other cooldowns forced, and as long as our Reinhardt doesn't immediately go down, as long as Drifter's Reinhardt doesn't immediately go down, this is pretty easy to win because you get such a resource lead from them going through here in a clump, etc. And that's, as you can see, even though we don't get the best camera, you can see this by watching our team viewer thing up top. That's exactly what happens. Right. Maybe to the untrained eye, it looked like, oh no, we've got Jakaru's in trouble, Jakaru's in danger, there's that wall, etc., etc. But if you understand how the comps work, how a Brawl v Brawl mirror works, no, Drifters had way better angles. Maryville fed themselves into a narrow spot, and by feeding themselves into a narrow spot that was intentionally being threatened by those angles, they lose two people coming through here. And, you know, Drifters haven't spent much at all. So what? They spent Wraith and Lamp. Okay. I mean, they spent Wraith and Lamp, and they probably spent Amp too, but who cares? They've cleaned up this fight. Did she block him in the corner and then block the charge with block? Maybe. Let's take a look. There's the Lamp. Yeah, yeah, she did. I don't think she blocked him in the corner. I think he was retreating to the corner on his own. Like the wall didn't force him into the corner. I don't know what block you mean. She blocked the charge with, like, she pushed him in that direction, and she ice blocks. I don't know if that pin started after the ice block had already happened, though. I'm not sure what the order on that was. Okay, and this is cleanup. Should be cleanup. Good. And now they should spread back out. Okay, it's another aggressive spread. I hope they called that. I hope they called that. Okay. Okay, so now their concave needs to be spread differently because this time Maryville is rotating through here, so your concave needs to either be to answer this, or more likely, your concave needs to be to sort of answer back there where they're going to rotate through, up, etc., and you want to be spread to answer that. You can soft poke them a little bit here, but you're probably not going to hard engage because it's a little tough to be like, we're going to concave this, because it's dicey to put people over here, etc. Okay. Though they could do it. Drifters, no, they don't want to do it. Drifters does not want to do it because Maryville has them AWOL, they do not. Yeah. They're going to want to take them once they've rotated through or once they rotate through here. So they want to set their angles up ahead of time to be for that, and they want to make sure they can't get walled on the way. They can't get walled here. Yep, this is good. No. No, this is wrong. Please don't do this. Please don't do this. Okay, so they know he's here and he immediately rates out. I don't like that because there was no guarantee that you could do that. And what I mean by that is There's only a May wall on one team, and it's on Maryville, and Maryville can hit the May wall here, and then you ain't wraithing out, buddy. Or you might wraith out, but they're going to chase you with speed, etc., and they're going to get you. And you might go, oh, I'm going to teleport, etc., but if you're not pre-teleporting, that wall can make that tough, where all you're doing is teleporting to the top of the wall, they drop the wall, etc., etc. Like, I don't like that they've even put him here, because the team was never going to commit to take this fight here with how effective the wall can be when Maryville has a wall and they don't. Okay, back up. This isn't real. I really hope you guys didn't just give up your concave. You kind of did. You kind of gave up your concave. Now you're kind of stacked, and you have like even mash of people versus mash of people when you should have had a nice spread that they had to push into. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I know you have windows, and that makes being not spread better. Like it's less bad to not be spread, but I'd still rather you actually be spread. Okay, we've got a decent spread again for drifters. Uh, Yikes. This was gutsy. Gutsy. I guess drifters called that they were pressing it. That was not a terribly accurate fan. Yeah. I mean, you missed your shots, Nas. I can live with the aggression coming in from the two different angles there. They were close enough to mostly make that work. It was a reasonable call that you just missed too many shots. And now the fight turns. And now we have a... Oh, that's not a great beat. Okay. I think the meta that we've been seeing in this match so far has been fine, Tom. I mean, in this on King's Row, we're seeing Brawl v Brawl with some variations to it, but mostly Brawl v Brawl. And on Route 66, we saw some Brawl and some hybrid leaning poke. And I can tell you in other places, we're still seeing some double bubble, especially in Korea, but you know, nothing's really hurt it. We picked up a Winston buff, in fact, in the patch that just dropped. So those are like probably the three most common comps at this point. I don't think there's anything to be worried about. Oh, you're a Diva one trick. Again, I like Diva and Brawl, but what do I know? A lot. But what do I know? Still a lot. Okay. Pushing back in this early for this? Why? Why are we giving up the good choke for this? Huh. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good. Just getting the cart to stall it. That's fine. Okay. Let's set up for a real trade. We're still keeping this Diva versus Zarya. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's tough to control multiple lanes here, but they're trying. Good. You see the actual battle. Like this main lane battle is happening, but you guys can also see there's a battle happening in the left lane there, the high ground lane. And Diva's even trying for thinking about the further left lane. Mei is not a great character to be battling for the high ground with, but what are you gonna do? I don't love this surrender. Um, yeah, I don't like this surrender. Like we've surrendered the left lane, the high ground lane, we'll call it, not the far left lane, and we're not also going, okay, well, we've surrendered that lane, so we'll take this lane with our McCree, or with our, excuse me, with our McCree, or with our McCree is effectively who we do. Like, I would like us to go take something over here if we feel we can't hold this. Do I? Do I? Because we might get jumped behind if we do that. I guess that's okay. I guess I just don't want to give up this lane. Yeah, if they've taken this high ground lane from you right here, let's instead go the far way around and come over here. That's going to be better because that's going to take away much of the privilege of that high ground. It's only going to be up here. It's not going to give them access to behind you. Yeah, let's do our rotation over here. By let's, I mean Maryville. That's an early high noon. The Diva objective in this comp is to deny DPS from being able to take off angles, like on the high ground, for example, going, hey, no, you can't have this high ground, etc., and to have the ability to be more precise with their damage denial on Reinhardt. So they can go take off angles, say, no, you can't have this, you can't take angles against us, because when you're playing Brawl v Brawl, the off angles matter a lot, as we just covered with the Doombox pushing into first there, and we saw how big a difference it made. The other thing that D.Va does is D.Va gives you more toggle control over protecting your Reinhardt. The Zarya can protect their Reinhardt with a bubble once per cooldown. The D.Va can be a lot more situational about that. So if you can effectively not give the Zarya energy when the Reinhardt goes aggressive and just soak the bit of Reinhardt damage and live with it, then you can push back and you have the entire window of their cooldown that you can push them, and that's a pretty big deal in the matchup. So that's something that you look for, and your D.Va isn't all in to protect your Reinhardt with a tick of defense matrix. But yes, eating grabs is a good thing. There's our high noon through the corner. We can't throw the self-destruct while the high noon's available, but the high noon, honestly, this is not a great high noon. Oh, we're looking to lift the high noon. Actually, that's cute enough. Okay, fine. But then we don't do it. Guess we didn't like it after all. Yeah, I mean, that could have been nice if we'd lined up. I forgive this high noon. We were high nooning around the corner because we wanted to high noon and then lift our Reinhardt and McCree on the same sight line and suddenly surprise the guys. Yeah, that was fine. Except we didn't manage to line it up. Oh, we don't want to lose someone to the Reaper teleporting to high ground again? Okay, okay. Let's see that. Uh-huh. Unfortunate. And again, as we talk about ult use order here, so let's go into this. We go here, we go, hey, we have an ult, let's try and use it. We're going to try to use our high noon, that's fine. We don't get any value out of our high noon. Not serious value. Yes, we chip the BAP. I'm not going to, we chip some stuff. I'm not going to pretend that that's nothing, but it's not the greatest value. We don't have good angle control here, though, because of how we broke this corner. Like, this is not terribly good angle control, whereas they have high ground. The Doomfist can come in from up there. The Reaper can come in from up there. The Reaper can teleport behind us. The Doomfist can get behind us. Like, this isn't very good angle control that we have, but at least we got a bit of a resource lead with that high noon. And then we go, hey, we want to go ahead as Maryville and sustain this fight. I assume that's what comes out next. I assume we're beating to sustain the fight because our positioning is bad and we need to force it. Am I crazy? Halo? Halo? No. What is this? Yuck. We beat it in response to a self-destruct with the wrong timing to actually save people from the self-destruct. That gross. That is gross. Halo, you're fired. Okay, you're not actually fired, but come on, man. I assumed what had happened there is Halo had thrown out the the beat to sustain them because they needed raw power from the beat to take this fight since they did not have good positioning, etc. And they hadn't gotten enough out of their high noon, which I was fine with. You're using beat as a power play to continue your aggression, etc. And then I'd assumed that Odd went, yeah, we don't want you doing that, and threw the self-destruct as an answer to the beat to go, no, we're going to make you use, you burned a second or two of beat, now we're going to make you waste the rest of your beat retreating with during our self-destruct, and we're going to chase you during it, and it's going to become our power play, etc. Like that's what I assumed happened because that would have been what you'd expect in high level Overwatch. Rehired. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm eventually grounded out. Okay. Okay, where are we on ults? Looking at our ults, we have the high noon again for Maryville, and we've got Grav. Shatter will come on pretty early into the fight, whereas over from Drifters, we've got Shatter and Doomfist. Okay, so we're going to high noon. Basically, the instant we have our team here, we choose to high noon. Um, this is basically a high noon for resource lead, and it's actually solid. Like, they're close enough that they're clearly rotating in. They don't have great places to go. If they try to rotate away from this high noon into like here, which is the only real available cover, it'll be very easy to take a surround on them, and they won't particularly like it. Like, Maryville will have the better surround, etc. Even if this high noon has to be pulled early, etc., as long as it doesn't get DM'd, it's going to pull out quite a bit of resource, even in the form of Rhine Shield damage, etc., even if it isn't able to pick up eliminations, because again, there isn't a great place for these to go. This is being used at a good timing. Looking for the wall thing again. Fine. We get two. Cool. Probably didn't need that flash, but whatever. I mean, it's cleanup phase. We'll live. We don't need to surrender to the space, guys. What are we doing? What are we doing? We probably don't have wall to take high ground yet again. At least our Zarya is taking a different angle. Now we probably have wall to take that high ground. What do we do? Fine, we're windowing. Of course, we're not going to grab. Okay. We're deciding the window's enough. Fine by me. How did we lose so much here? Seriously, how did we lose so much in Maryville's backline? I know the D.Va's back here. The D.Va that we should have dealt with by Mei Walling and going up and challenging it because we wanted that positioning regardless. What's going on in Maryville's backline as this is happening? Yes, I'm aware of the wall. That's Doomfist that goes down. That's not our backline. Excuse me, no, that's the other. That's I've got my teams flipped. So our Lucio and McCree both go down as Maryville, and that's from the Reaper teleports back there for a Death Blossom because of course that works. Hey guys, D.Va's pretty good. You know, maybe run D.Va instead of Zarya. It helps stop that. But hey, what do I know? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What should have been a sure finish was stopped by Death Blossom, and by not having good positioning, and by not dealing with the D.Va first. Those were all things that Maryville could have done to increase their odds of winning that fight. There's the high noon again. Yeah, unfortunately that's the thing. Like, we didn't get much charge time on that high noon, so even though we got lifted, they have their own May, which, is helping as the high noon answer. So have to pull the trigger early here without having gotten much charge time, which means the Diva has enough DM to eat it. From our approach, let's rewatch this approach. We're going here. Do we take either of the high grounds? Our Lucio cares. No. Our Lucio is the only one who takes high ground, and he pushes in. And no, that was actually good of Hela. Try to remove the Diva, make her uncomfortable in case it shifts her as she's aiming. It's not like amazing, but it's good. Was probably actually hoping for the pit, but we can dream. Okay. Maryville, you're gonna struggle if you keep trying to run this up mid. I promise. Getting off that Zarya with 71 ult charge that you're not going to do might help, because it would help you contest this high ground that this Lucio and Diva now have better. But there's also things you can do with your Mei wall to contest the high ground, so it's not impossible. We're going to just window again on our singular angle. This doesn't work nearly as well if you also control this lane. Just saying. This doesn't work nearly as well if you've won this lane and then your Diva can transition up to here and shoot down. Like, just saying. Okay, that's fine. Oh, look, I wonder what's going to happen. Hint, this McCree rotating is important. It is very important. You guys see what's happening here? This is a big deal. This is why controlling this lane matters. Do I have my team straight? Okay, so Papa Yap saw it, and Papa Yap it? Whatever. Papa Yap saw it and was able to handle it because they both had sound barriers going. That's important. And is ultimately going to be enough. Good. A lot of that was brute force, but hey, we'll take it. At least they were aware enough of the lane to answer it, even if they didn't take control of it themselves. Okay, so that's gonna 5 seconds, which means they both get a minute and a minute 5 there. And let's see how the comps are evolving as we go through here. Moira. Ew. And on our defense, because that's the actual permanent thing, we're onto this. So we're pretty solidly, it looks like, onto the May McCree for this team, which I agree with, but we're also solidly onto the Zarya for this team, which I am less a fan of. It was, Tom. It was actually a very big deal. uh, it was a very big deal. Okay, and are we actually walking out with this Moira? If so, I hate it. I hate it. No, please don't do this to me. Oh, we're actually walking out with the Moira. We're walking out with the Moira, knowing that we're playing into probably a Zarya. How do I feel about that? We lose out on Lamp. We get more sustain, but I just don't. I mean, sustain sort of. We don't get longer term sustain, but we get more powerful sustain. I'm not a huge fan. Like it's not the worst absolute thing in the world. There's some you can do in terms of after that Zarya has spent their bubble, we can sort of go harder in some ways, not immortality hard, but harder without our immortality field hard than a BAP team would be able to go, and we do want to be able to push pretty hard in that window, but I don't particularly like it. So why are you guys rotating like this? So you're rotating because they've properly set up a concave for if you go the main routes? Relatively proper concave, yeah. Okay, so this is good. And this is good because it changes their concave. So now they don't really have a concave anymore unless they come through hotel. Oh, there you go. That was nice. So for you guys who don't realize what happened there, the Maryville was set up over here and over here, so they mostly had a proper concave for this to be a bit painful to push into, where, hey, they're going to get pushed in every direction, etc. if they push. So they started to go this way. This way is good because it drags these guys effectively together and forces them to contest like this around it, or they can split and sort of contest like this, but then they're split, and whichever team doesn't have Lucio, you can potentially amp speed and try to run over, etc., before the other team can help. So that would have been good by itself, but they went one more and went, hey, as you guys are collapsing this way, we are going to just come back out this way and catch you while you're all together. So we're forcing a brawl v brawl where no one has good concave position. There's the May walls. That's a really? Okay. Okay. Why is the lamp out? Were we worried that we didn't have bubble? That's an early lamp. I don't like it. Those two got stunned, but it didn't matter. Okay. Huh. Mm-hmm. Panicked. I mean, it's okay, Bryce, but I really don't find it. I mean, yes, it's a good ult in that it tends to synergize well with the comp, where it allows your tanks to push pretty hard. You get coalescence early, you hit that early coalescence, and that early coalescence turns into one or both of your tanks getting their ults, and then you have those, and you can win with that. Like, yeah, I understand how that works, and it is good. Don't get me wrong, but Windows don't really come slower than Co. Like, eh. But yes, that has some value as a strategy. Mhm. Mhm. This time they don't have such a good concave. You actually could press mid on them. Let's teleport. And do we have a coalescence going? We do. That gets walled off, and there's actually not a great path around for her. That wall was less good. Blue had the much better wall. Which wall came out first? No idea. Um, both those walls are out. Blue has the better wall, but red has the better general positioning at this point, in that they were able to get their Reaper over here and their Diva over there without taking much damage. Okay. And the wall seems to have mattered more. Sorry, I want to see it again. Diva must have just not gone as part of this rotation, right? Yeah, okay. I'm surprised Diva's there with that much health, to be honest. And then the lamp comes out, and it's a lamp versus a Moira that's not. Yeah, the Moira isn't doing anything. The BAP is doing something. Now the Moira's doing something because they've broken a ice. But no, she just found the angle. But it's not great, and too much comes through here. Okay. One more round, guys. Let's see whether they can get the ticks or not. Okay, and if you guys have questions, you might want to start prepping them now because I'm not doing a third map after this one. I've enjoyed it, but I do have some other work, etc., to get done. Okay. Have you seen it? uh, okay. So we have our McCree May. We're still running the Diva. So those are just hard commits in terms of Drifters wants the Diva. Maryville wants to Zarya. I wish I'd been able to pay closer attention to how they were working around. Let's try for this round to see how they're working around the Zarya versus the Diva in terms of aggression timing. I just don't think we're going to have enough camera view to do so. Can we see how much that got? That's spam. So you're going to get the Fire Strike, some Lucio spam. That's more than you should get. Oh no, I'm wrong. You didn't get the bubble. I was thinking that that group of spam was what you got the bubble for, which means you're going to get less. That's a reasonable amount of spam if you'd gotten the bubble. Zarya may have gotten some of that, and that got like nothing. Yeah, so again, the Zarya is being starved. And you can see that because the Zarya is building ult charge very slowly right now. And you guys see this too, where there's two reasons that we're not seeing the mirrored aggression from Jakaru here. And those two reasons are, of course, he's going to get bubbled, this Cameron here, so I don't want to swing into it because I don't want to feed them. We're playing to starve them, and there's almost certainly a Mei wall that's going to go up behind me. So between those two things, I want to minimize the amount of damage I take hard until the Zarya bubble and the Mei wall are both out and dealt with. So, of course, it's just going to be shield. Is able to get out safely, and now we should see turned aggression, and the aggression should come out from Jakaru and Drifters pretty hard here. And you see exactly that. They come in and push while the Zarya bubbles are down, etc. They come in and freeze aggressively while the Zarya bubbles are down. Even though neither team has wall advantage, this is when they're doing it. I hate that fire strike. And my viewers know why I hate that fire strike. And exactly, they're kiting, they know the bubble's coming out. And now they're pushing back in, and they're pushing back in with their lamp. And that is how you effectively play with the Diva against the Zarya. That was well done. Probably. If Lucio wasn't on speed, I'd be surprised. I would expect the Lucio was on speed. I don't know if the Lucio used amp because amp will potentially get mirrored, etc. And obviously you can't boop the Rhine while the Rhine is bubbled. But yeah. And this is over. Yeah, that was well done, and is a good example of why I like the Diva over the Zarya. Okay, that's going to do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. We ended up going for two maps. I know a lot of people were meta curious after the patch, and at least, a couple days after the patch, this is what's being run. We see some Brawl stuff on Kings Row, probably a shocker to no one. We see some hybrid slash poke dive stuff leaning poke on Route 66, but we also saw a lot of Brawl on Route 66. So do I have any questions? Did Run get sped out? Cole is good early. I mean, if you have Reaper and May, I think it's pretty even between Moira and Bap. Yeah, I don't think the Moira is hugely worse there. I don't think the Moira is hugely worse there, and yes, I do understand the 1 minute argument. It would probably not be what I'd elect to run myself. Okay, they should play on Gibraltar. Don't they know that that's Temporal's favorite map? That is my favorite map, but dive is also my favorite way to play the game, and it's a very dive high ground centric map, etc. Okay. Ball is still played with Sig on other maps. I only saw Kings Row. No, you saw much more Ball Diva than you did Ball Sig. At least in this match. Like Route 66, we saw quite a bit of Ball Diva. We saw a moment of Ball Hog, but we saw much more Ball Diva than we did Ball Sig. I know some teams have tried Ball Sig, but that's mostly fallen out of flavor. There's probably a great team somewhere that's still running a ton of Ball Sig that I'm not paying attention to, but mostly that's fallen out of flavor. Okay. So I think that's going to do it. We've been streaming for a while here. You guys know where to find me. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that really does help me out. And if I see a ton more likes on my pro game analysis as opposed to VOD reviews, we may drift more in that direction. That said, I plan to continue doing more of both. I think they're both interesting, and I think they both make good changes of pace. If you're looking to get coaching yourself, I do provide coaching services. You can join my Discord, see what my rates look like, as well as see promos or events that are coming up, things like that. Ball is still mostly being played by main tank. Yes. Okay. Thanks, guys. Tim